on its enemies. The class is going to have some spellcasting capabilities. It's going to have a more limited spell list, most likely, than a wizard sorcerer, with most of its spells focused on things that can buff monsters or buff itself. So yeah, that's going to be the focus on the summoner. Yeah. There's one more class that we've already discussed, but I'm going to skip that. I'm going to talk about that one at the very end. That's the Oracle. So I'm going to get to that at the very end. Now I'm going to talk about the two classes that we haven't announced at all. The first one is the Witch. We've decided to take the Witch and make it into a full class. Now what this means is we're going to have a class that takes elements of both the arcane and divine spell lists and merges them together. The Witch is going to have various, kind of curse capabilities, obviously, right? That's something that a Witch should be able to do. And the Familiar will take on a more important role with the Witch. The thing we're most excited about with the Witch, though, is really taking kind of like a souped-up adept, right? In that the adept has both cure spells and lightning bolts and things like that on its list, but really isn't truly suitable for a PC class. It's close, but you just don't have the class features and abilities to pull off a full PC using the adept. The Witch is going to do that. The Witch is going to have a full spell list that goes, all the way up to 9th level spells, and really blends the two spell casting lists, taking a measured approach from each. We're not just going to go through and cherry pick the best spells from both lists and make the uber spellcaster. What you're going to find is that the Witch has things that are more single target oriented, more things that work more like curses and penalty applying effects than just huge spells that deal massive amounts of damage, or you probably won't find a lot of spells to remove curses and things like that on their list. Oh, I'm going to go see the Witch to get my disease cured. Not a good idea. So yeah, that's what we're looking for the Witch. We're looking at also giving the Witch a kind of an improved, enhanced version of the Familiar rules, where the Witch's Familiar is a much more integral part and maybe has something to do with the Witch's spellcasting. This class is still early in its development, but that's kind of some of the ideas we're pushing around right now. The next class we're looking at that we haven't talked about yet, this would be the last one, is the Inquisitor. The Inquisitor class is going to be a skill-focused divine spellcaster. So if you ever wanted to play kind of your Van Richten type, who goes around hunting monsters or undead or whatever, this is going to be the class to build that character. The Inquisitor is going to be a bit combat focused, and currently I'm working on an ability for the Inquisitor where the Inquisitor starts dealing more damage the longer combat goes. So that they have a set amount of damage, they're dealing normal weapon damage, but as the combat goes on, they learn more and more about how to fight their enemy, and they can deal more and more effective blows. So, in that the rogue gets, just flat bonus dice, and other classes get various bonus ways to deal damage, the Inquisitor will actually benefit from longer fights. The Inquisitor is going to have limited divine spellcasting, probably more akin to a bard than, say, a cleric or something. So it's going to be probably a shorter spell list and less spells, but really spells that they'll probably get access to spells at a bit lower levels in some cases to really kind of help out with their concept. So yeah, that's what we're kind of looking at for the Inquisitor. Last but not least, I wanted to talk about the Oracle. Now the Oracle is a class we've already talked about. But I'm going to go ahead. So the Oracle, when I say Oracle, a lot of people think, blind woman up on a mountaintop, who you go to for prophecies. And that's not an entirely flawed analogy for the Oracle. The Oracle is a class that's going to be a divine, spontaneous spellcaster. But each Oracle is going to have a focus. And their focus is going to be similar to the way domains work. So you're going to have an oracle of fire, an oracle of war, an oracle of strength, an oracle of knowledge, which would be your kind of prototypical oracle. And what these oracles are going to do is they're going to draw abilities from their focus that make them kind of the pinnacle of that particular focus. So if you want to know about war, if your kingdom's going to war, your king might send you to find the oracle of war or an oracle of war and bring them to direct the battle because they know a lot about war and are skilled at marshaling troops, and they draw from their focus a number of abilities. So this is going to kind of work like Sorcerer's Bloodlines. However, the oracle is going to get revelations as they go up in level. So they start out and they get a revelation at first level, and each oracle draws revelations from their focus. So each focus is going to have a long list of revelations, and you pick them as you go up in level. And each revelation gives you special abilities, like you know, if you're an oracle of, say, fire, you might get fire resistance as one of your revelations, and that'll scale up as you go up in level, but you picked it at whatever level you picked it. You know, the Oracle of Fire might also get the ability to, you know, shoot fire rays if you pick that as your revelation. So each Oracle is going to have a different list of revelations to pick from. In addition, Oracles are going to have a bit of a curse. This curse limits an Oracle in one small way, but also gives them benefits in another way. So an Oracle might be blind, but not really. What they can is their sight is limited to 30 feet. But then at later levels, it might bump all the way up to like blind sight. So while their eyes are kind of milky and cloudy, they can actually eventually start seeing better than the rest of the party. So it's a curse, but it comes with benefits. An Oracle's focus will also include things like you know, bonus class skills and things like that, similar to a sorcerer. And then at 20th level, each Oracle will be able to choose a final revelation, which is kind of the pinnacle of power from their focus. You know, like the Oracles of Fire with their focus for their final revelation might gain